I feel like our most precious, invaluable resources are getting extremely hard to come by today. And I think about this a lot because I like to observe. I look around at society and I do that often. And after doing that so much, I've started to pick up on some trends. You kind of notice stuff. And I've kind of noticed it. I've noticed that things like health seems to be very hard to come by for most people. And that's probably because most of the stuff in today's modern world is absolutely toxic. We basically live in a toxic environment with toxic food and toxic water and toxic air. Everything's kind of out to get us. But that's not the only thing. Another finite resource that we all have that is very, very hard to come by for most people is time. We also exist in an environment today that makes it extremely difficult to not only claim your time, but to retain it. Everybody is bleeding time. And if you think about how fast time passes today, that's no coincidence. It's because we're constantly distracted. You got people out there working, 60, 80 hours a week, putting in all this overtime just so they can put food on the table. I'm not even talking about splurging. I'm just talking about buying the essentials. You have people out there having to work 2 or 3 jobs. That's the environment that some people exist in today. But there's another very finite resource that I feel like most of society has a very hard time maintaining. They have a hard time obtaining the resource altogether, and that is peace. And I would say that for the vast majority of society today, peace is probably one of the hardest to come by. And I've taken quite a bit of time to reflect on this and think about why that is. And once you start really digging into it, the answers become pretty clear. And what I've found is that a lot of it comes down to the same things that are stealing our time and our health, I would say. All the stuff in society today that is pawning for our attention. Everything is out to train our focus on something, because where our focus goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, money also flows. And these large corporations, these industries, I would say even the people in charge, they know that. And they've done a pretty good job at training our focus on whatever they want to train it on. All these agendas, all these narratives that are being pushed out to us, all this noise, it disrupts our peace. And that makes peace, which I would say is sacred, it makes it very hard to come by. And when you can't find peace and your entire life is noise and distractions, it wears on you. And it wears on you pretty darn quick. And there's a major problem with this, because I would say that for most of our existence, our life was peace. I mean, think about how much turmoil and how much noise would have surrounded us 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. During certain time periods, I would say yes, we were probably in a lot of turmoil. There was probably a lot of fighting going on. We were basically in survival mode. But when you think about our environment, it was kind of like what I have right here. It's peace. It's silence. It's solitude. It's nature. It's the natural world, the beautiful stuff that surrounds all of us that we forget about. We didn't have all these distractions. We didn't have all of these factors constantly fighting for our attention. The only thing that might have been fighting for our attention would have been other people, which we would have been tribes in probably 150 people or less. So it wouldn't have been that noisy even in that aspect. And I mean, that's about it. The only other things that would have had our attention that we would have been training our focus on the most would have been food, water, shelter, the fundamentals. And again, these are things that we've kind of forgotten about, because if you think about the modern world, these are commodities. This stuff has been commoditized. And I would say that they're comforts. It's not even about necessity anymore. It's a given that these things are in our life. Most of these things are just handed to us. We don't really have to work for this stuff. So we not only neglect it, we don't put much value into it. And I would say that's a big problem, because when you don't value the fundamentals of life and you don't value the natural beauty of the world around us, what else is there? What are you putting your faith into? What are you actually valuing? And I feel like maybe that's one of the big problems, is that we now value the wrong stuff, because society has taught us to go after all of these things that, when you really think about it, they're not really that important. Money, clout, fame, glory, making a name for yourself, climbing the corporate ladder, being the man, proving yourself to the world, proving yourself to people that don't care about you and that you'll probably never see again. It's such an absurd idea that that's the life that we live, and those are the things that we value. Instead of valuing the things that have been around us our entire existence and the things that actually matter, we value all the things in life that are simply not important. And this is another thing that I really think a lot about, because I think about when I'm 80 or 90 years old, or however long I live to be, and I'm on my deathbed and I'm looking back at my life. When I reflect on that, what are the things that are going to be important to me? What are the moments that are going to stand out? Where are my regrets going to be? Am I going to have regrets? And I am somebody who's actually been able to stand on that ledge, basically looking down at a 6-foot hole in the dirt, because there was a point in my life where I was very, very sick and I had plenty of time to reflect. And I can tell you that I had a lot of regrets, because I realized that a lot of the stuff that I had been focusing on simply did not matter to me. In that moment where I was basically looking back at my accomplishments, at my life in general, the things that I spent the majority of my life going after, they weren't important. And the things that were important really started to stand out. So the following years after those events, I've structured my life in a way that I now focus as much as I can on the things that are important. And by doing that, it has brought a tremendous amount of peace into my life. It is very hard to shake me up these days. And yes, there's still things that irritate me. I still get angry. I'm still human. I still get upset. But it takes a lot. And I know when to walk away. And this is one of the lies that we have told ourselves, is that peace is very hard to come by. We've actually been misled by thinking this, and the reason for that is because most of the things in life that disrupt our peace today, we can actually turn them off. Literally, we can physically turn them off, because most of the things in life that disrupt our peace come from technology. They come from cell phones, social media, the mainstream media, the people at the top. All these narratives and all these agendas that I was talking about, where do those things come from? They don't come from the people around us for the most part. Most of us don't even go out and socialize today. They don't come from our social circles. They come from the internet. They come from this digital realm that we now exist in. And that's where I think the digital realm and modern society can be a double-edged sword, because while it is great in some aspects, we now have information at our fingertips like never before. We can connect with people on the other side of the world in the blink of an eye. That's all great stuff. But on the flip side of that, it makes it very easy for these industries and for these entities to fill our lives with noise, to disrupt our peace, to fill in the void. And when I think about this, I think about how many people actually take the time today to just stop and take it all in, to embrace the silence. How many people can actually handle that? Because society has also taught us that we need to surround ourselves with people all the time. And the bad part about that is that most people also do that digitally. And that is also noise. It's this false perception of reality. We surround ourselves with all these social media people, and we believe that those people matter to us, and those are the people that we try to prove ourselves to. But when people stop and take the time to really think about this, they're going to find that a lot of those people that they've surrounded themselves with don't care about them. And the people that care about them are the ones that are in their immediate reality, the physical reality around them. Those are the people that do not fill their life with noise, because they're not always there. And you think about the digital realm, everybody's always there. All these people, your social circle is just a click away or a tap away. They're always there. And people always think about them. It's always in the back of their mind. What can I do to prove myself to these people? What kind of highlight reel can I post? What is going to get engagement? What's going to get the clicks? What's going to validate me? This is the world that we live in, and this is all noise. But I think it's very important for people to remember that all that noise can in fact be switched off. And it is literally as easy as turning your screen off, setting your phone down, and walking away. Stepping back out into the real natural world and focusing on the stuff in life that actually matters. That is what I've begun to do with my life, and I can tell you that I've experienced profound benefits from this. I would almost go out on a limb here and say that it has transformed my life, or it is transforming my life. Again, I'm still human. I still get caught up in the digital realm. Sometimes I still get caught up in the scroll. Sometimes I spend way too much time on my phone. But I've made it a point to make a conscious effort about that and cut myself off. When I feel myself spiraling, I walk away. And that's the beauty of this digital realm. If there were ever a silver lining, that is it. It is the fact that shutting this stuff off and drowning out the noise and embracing the silence and reconnecting with the stuff in life that's actually important is as simple as walking away. It is as simple as turning off and focusing your attention on something else. Spending your time, that very finite resource that we all have, that we're all losing, on something more important. And when I peer out into society and I look at all the people and I pay attention to the things that are happening, the trends, and I would say the energy, the energy in the air, I have begun to notice the shift, and it's more of a feeling. You can kind of feel the energy changing in the air, and I think that is because more people are realizing this. They're realizing that we've been played and that we're kind of playing ourselves. People are starting to see the truth about our situation, and they're retraining their focus on the things in life that are actually important. And I think that's an amazing thing, because real change starts one person at a time. We don't like to believe that we as individuals can make a change, but this is how change starts. Real change starts with awareness. It starts by simply asking questions, because questions often lead to the truth. And when you start to see the truth, you start to make different choices. And those choices eventually become new habits. And those new habits, when they're formed around the right things, is where we will collectively rediscover peace.